Good day everyone. So for today we'll be discussing about TPACK or Technological Pedagogical Content Knowledge Framework. In technology, there's so many teaching methods that can be used. It is also unavoidable to use technology in teaching because in this day, it is necessary to use technology to make teaching more effective. The TPACK model gives us new framework for the integration of technology and education on how we construct our classroom to provide the best educational experience for students while incorporating technology. So what is TPACK framework? TPACK stands for Technological Pedagogical Content Knowledge. It is varied that was developed to explain the said knowledge of teachers need to teach their student subject teaching effectively with the use of technology. TPACK has a section knowledge areas to consider. First is technological knowledge, second pedagogical knowledge, and last content knowledge. First is TKI or technological knowledge. It is a knowledge about how to use ICT, hardware and software, and associated peripherals. Example, knowledge on how to use laptop, LCD projectors, wiki, blogs, Edmodo, and Google Class. Next is CKI or content knowledge. It is a knowledge of the subject matter. Example, knowledge about science, mathematics, history, and language subjects. And last, PK or pedagogical knowledge. It is a knowledge about students' learning, instructional method, different educational theories, and learning assessment to teach a subject matter. Example, knowledge about how to use teaching strategies like problem-based learning, inquiry-based instruction, and differentiated instruction. There are three knowledge that can be formed in three knowledge intercepts. First is TCK or Technological Content Knowledge. It is the ability of the teacher to select the appropriate technology in particular topic to better understand of the student about the content of the topic. With the help of technology, the concept of lesson become more concrete. This will help the teacher to have a good teaching and educate the students interested. Second is PCK or Pedagogical Content Knowledge. It is the teacher's ability to choose an appropriate strategy in teaching subject effectively. The teacher here considers the most appropriate task to develop the skills of every student demanded by the subject matter. And lastly is TPACK or Technological Pedagogical Knowledge. It is the teacher's ability to select the appropriate teaching strategy that technology uses the implementation. Example, the student will perform an activity and with the help of equipment, output of performance will be outstanding. And the center of the intersection of the three knowledge will be called the TPACK. Here can be seen that it is necessary to choose the most appropriate strategy for teaching a subject matter. When TPACK framework will followed, teaching will definitely effective and interesting.
What is TPACK? TPACK stands for Technological, Pedagogical, and Content Knowledge. TPACK is a framework for understanding technology integration for education. T is a technology represent technical knowledge, so the ability to use software and ability to use computer and so forth. C is the content knowledge that includes science and the social studies, and the P for the pedagogical, and this is how to teach. So the TCP have a subject domain which is when the PC or pedagogical and content knowledge met the subject domain which is the PC or the specific content knowledge, and the technology is related to the content knowledge. So the social studies know how to use technology to support research and studies. And similarly, technology and the pedagogical knowledge in which do you know how to support teaching knowledge. The whole idea of TPACK is to get up something that we failed of that getting at from learning technology from many years. That is the central idea of the TPACK. At the technology and the pedagogical and the content knowledge work together is a very complicated way to support good teaching. TPACK is the we have the three domains knowledge to represent one another and the subdomain and the central to understand to support effective technology immigration. That is TPACK.
What is TPACK? It is a framework that combines the three knowledge area: our technological knowledge, content knowledge, and pedagogical knowledge. And it looks how they work together to increase student motivation. And to make the content more accessible, we look at the content as what? It is the subject teaching matter, where teaching like ecology, music, algebra, health, geometry, or art, history, and to name a few. Then, we'll look at our pedagogical knowledge. It's the how. Every teacher has tools, so let's put them to use. So, are we going to use direct instruction? Or will this be inquiry-based, group discussion? Or how are we going to make the content more accessible by the way we present it to our students? Then, we'll look at the selecting the appropriate technology because it is the partner. What tool will select to make the content more accessible to the students while supporting the pedagogical strategy, which we identified will help to deliver this information to students. We must identify those who support the feature our outcome, help us to make technology to reach our outcome. As we understand them individually, we can start to see overlaps. Our TP knowledge allows us to understand how we're making the content more accessible. Our TC knowledge allows us to identify the affordances of pairing the appropriate technology to the content. And our PC knowledge allows us to identify the affordances of pairing the appropriate pedagogical strategies with the content. TPACK comes from the overlapping in that center spot, or as we refer to it as the sweet spot. When all three knowledge areas work together, it's crucial to remember the surrounding. This is the context. That's you and your students. This way look differently when you walk into classrooms because of the heart of TPACK is meeting students' needs.
Good day everyone, I am Geraldine C. Alcones and I will be discussing the TPACK and its importance. TPACK, or the Technological, Pedagogical, and Content Knowledge, is a technology integration framework that highlights three forms of knowledge that teachers must integrate in order to be effective with EdTech integration, or the Technological, Pedagogical, and Content Knowledge, or aka TPACK. Technology-enhanced collaborative learning is depicted in the diagram center, which reflects a comprehensive grasp of how to teach with technology. Maintaining awareness of the three fundamental concepts collectively is not the same as knowing them separately, so keep that in mind. Instead, the goal of TPACK is to get an understanding of how to use technology to teach topics in a way that improves the learning experiences of students in general. Consider the following scenario. You are delivering content to your students using your learning management system, or the LMS, although you may have sufficient knowledge of the content you're teaching, or the CK, and of your LMS, or the PK. You may nevertheless choose to subject your students to an online course comprised entirely of PDFs that are text-based. While this is a sufficient demonstration of both content and technical expertise, one could argue that it does not contribute to the enhancement of the learning experience. Technical information knowledge, on the other hand, is achieved by recognizing how your content could be presented in more interactive interactive and engaging digital mediums. For example, we have the video, class discussion, game, and so on, and knowing how to make that happen through your LMS or the TPACK. So why is TPACK is important? The majority of instructors and administrators are aware of the advantages that technology can provide in the classroom, whether it is preparing students for a technologically driven world or assisting in the simplification of course, school, and district administration. However, far too many people believe that technology is the panacea for all of their problems. It is commonly expected, whether consciously or unconsciously, that the sheer availability of digital tools will result in an improvement in educational outcomes. Just for this reason, it is critical to have a TPACK framework in place. It's tempting to believe that incorporating a fantastic learning management system or the LMS into your class plan will improve learning. However, TPACK demonstrates that there is a relationship between technology, content, and pedagogy, and that the purposeful integration of these elements is essential.
First, what is the TPACK framework? TPACK stands for Technological Pedagogical Content Knowledge. It is a theory that was developed to explain the set of knowledge that teachers need to teach their students a subject, teach effectively, and use technology. How does it impact teaching and learning with technology? Currently, technology is treated as if it is separate from teaching and learning. We have professional development workshops where we are instructed in the use of some particular software or app, and how to fit it into our classroom is not discussed. Mishra and Coeller point to this as a current negative impact. They claim that the lack of awareness of TPACK keeps technology separated and leads to four problems with using technology in the classroom. First, there are such rapid changes in technology that it is extremely difficult to keep up with all the latest advancements and apps. The second problem is that software is designed for business, not for education. This often means that students are learning how to use the program and not learning the content of the class. The third problem with keeping technology separate is the situational nature of the classroom. A teacher can adjust a lesson to make sure it meets the needs of the specific group of students, but the instructional video cannot. It's the same video every time it is played. Finally, Mishra and Coeller say that keeping technology separates places and emphasis on what, not how. From the teacher's perspective, the lesson becomes about what technology are we going to use today? What does it say? What skills does it require? Instead of how can I teach my students? And lastly, how can TPACK be used in the classroom? Keeping technology as a separate knowledge set causes problems. But when we understand the framework of TPACK, we can integrate technology into the content and pedagogy of our classrooms. The integration will help our students learn more effectively. Mishra and Queller suggest that TPACK should guide curriculum development and teacher education. To apply TPACK to our classrooms now, Judith B. Harris and Mark J. Hofer work with colleagues from universities around the United States to create activity types. Their article, Grounded Technology Integration, Instructional Planning Using Curriculum-Based Activity Type Taxonomies, explains how TPACK should change the way we plan our daily lessons. They describe a planning process where we first choose the learning outcomes that we will be working on that day or during that class session. The learning outcomes are the content. The second step they propose is choosing an activity type. The activity type is the pedagogy or how are the students going to learn the content. Finally, we can choose technologies that will support the activity type and aid the students in learning. Harris, Hoffer, and their colleagues shows us with example after example of how our instructional planning should include each part of the TPACK framework and allow us to create and develop the overlapping knowledge to make the best learning environment for our students. The simplest idea at play in TPACK is that a person who is a world-renowned expert in a subject might not be a great teacher because they lack the pedagogical knowledge to make the subject accessible and understandable. To be a great teacher, we have to combine our knowledge of the subject with our knowledge of how to teach.
We discuss a lot of ways to use technology in the classroom. As teachers and future teachers, we feel pushed to incorporate technology into our classrooms because of the new outcomes that demand it. The TPACK model gives us a new framework for integration of technology in education. And how can we structure our classrooms to provide the best education experience for students while incorporating technology?